Hello and welcome to VOP Business Show. I am Kayla Abraham. Now the federal government has disclosed plans to review and reduce tax waivers given to companies operating in Nigeria as total tax incentives hit 6 trillion naira annually. The chairman of the Presidential Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, who made this disclosure, stated that a comprehensive tax waiver review in line with the plan of the previous administration was carried out. He made the disclosure in Abuja when the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Wale Edun, unveiled the 8-point agenda which the Bola Tinubu-led government hopes to use in transforming the challenging economic environment. Earlier reports had put the average annual tax waiver figure at about 5 trillion naira. The latest move by the government may affect some companies and others which have benefited in one form of tax waiver or the other. At least 172 companies might not benefit from about 2.4 trillion naira tax waivers under the Pioneer Status Incentive and other tax exemptions as the federal government moved to phase out some tax waivers. Speaking at the press briefing, Oyedele added that Nigeria has about 6 trillion naira annual tax expenditure, which needs to be reviewed. The tax expert further mentioned that the government plans to remove disincentives in the tax system of the country. He noted that the country has a 20 trillion naira tax gap, which when closed with automated process can boost government revenue. He also stressed that when people were allowed to be prosperous and businesses to thrive, the government could make money from revenue naturally. Now, oil marketers yesterday have confirmed that they have received the nod of domestic and international financiers to develop about 30,000 gas stations nationwide. It was also gathered that many of the stations were currently being converted to start dispensing gas following the decision of the federal government to deploy about 11,000 vehicles to run and compress natural gas as part of plans to cushion the removal of fuel subsidy. Providing updates on the move by marketers to build about 30,000 gas stations to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal, the National President Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Chinedu Okonkwo, told our correspondent that financiers of the project were responding positively. In the letter to the Federal Ministry of Finance, the marketer had also asked the federal government to make the Central Bank of Nigeria release the 250 billion naira intervention fund for the National Gas Expansion Program as loans to vehicle owners to acquire gas conversion kit. When contacted on Sunday for updates on the initiative, Okonkwo disclosed that IPMAN was working with its financiers and were getting the desired responses for the project. The IPMAN president stated that the government was showing interest in the use of autogas and expressed optimism that marketers would get the support they require from the government. Now, according to the figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the federal government's expenditure exceeded revenue by 1.43 trillion naira in the first 3 months of 2023. The CBN revealed in its economic report for the third quarter of 2023 that this was 9.6% higher than the last quarter of 2022 figure. According to the report, the fiscal performance in 2023, the first quarter was impaired by low oil revenue realization. Consequently, the retained revenue of the federal government fell by 10.7% relative to 2022, the fourth quarter, and was 46.1% below the quarterly target. Federal government aggregate expenditure also declined by 1.3% and 36.0% relative to the preceding quarter and the quarterly target, respectively. At 3.48 trillion naira, the CBN report stated that the gross federation revenue fell below the levels in 2022, fourth quarter, and the budget benchmark by 0.4% and 26.6% respectively. Non-oil revenue continued to dominate government revenue, accounting for 61.4%, while oil receipts accounted for 38.6%. Oil revenue at 1.34 trillion naira declined by 3.0% and 43.5% relative to 2022 fourth quarter and quarterly target. The performance was indicative of revenue shortfalls from petroleum profit tax and royalties following lower domestic crude production. Now, the Acting Director General of the National Identity Management Commission, Abisoye Koka Dusote, has stated that there would be a seamless registration process for the national identification number in the country and in the diaspora. According to a statement yesterday in Abuja, Koka Dusote mentioned that NIN registration remains free for all eligible citizens, while reaffirming the Commission's commitment to ensuring accessibility for all Nigerians in line with the global best standard. Koka Odusote also stated that a comprehensive national identity system would streamline government services and enhance service delivery. In the statement, Koka Odusote noted that a unified identity system ensures that citizens receive the services they are entitled to in a more efficient manner. The federal government has disclosed that it will examine frequent cases of flight cancellations and delays and possible look at enforcing regulations on such issues. According to a statement by the ministry, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, disclosed this during a recent visit to the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. According to the head press and public relations of the ministry, Odutayo Oluseyi, 60% of funds revenue comes from Lagos, emphasizing the need to utilize the new terminal effectively. He stated that the federal government had expressed its desire to maximize the revenue-generating capacity of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. Keyamo also addressed the state of the old terminal, stating that it required a complete overhaul. As a result, the statement noted that the minister had directed all airlines operating in the old terminal to relocate their check-in counters to the new terminal. Keyamo further directed the removal of unserviceable aircraft by the owners for the expansion of Apron. The exchange rate between the Naira and the US dollar, according to the data released on the FMDQ Security Exchange, the official forex trading portal, showed that the Naira opened at 775.17 Naira per dollar on Friday and closed at 740.38 Naira per dollar on Friday, September 1. In a circular, the CBN stated that all FX window are now collapsed into the investors and exporters window. And that's it on VOP Business Show and VOP TV. We would like you to subscribe and engage us on YouTube. It is Voice of the People TV. And on all the social media platforms at VOP TV Live. I am Kayla Abraham. Thanks for watching.